This is the Pro Perspective from Houzz Pro, where home builders, designers, and industry experts share their views on running a modern firm.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Pro Perspective. I'm Liza Hausman, Vice President of Industry Marketing at Houzz. Today, I'm joined by Julee Ireland, an architectural interior and product designer and founder of Home Renovation School. This is also Julie's second year designing the luxury lounge at KBIS, giving her a unique perspective on the products, materials, and innovations shaping the show. So we're excited to welcome Julee to the show and to get her perspective on everything that happened at KBIS, what she saw and what she heard and what she's excited about. So welcome, Julee.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. It was a very busy show, at least for the times that I was there. And I thought that it was in Orlando this year, right? It's going back to Las Vegas permanently next year. And we always wonder how it's going to do in Orlando. So you've been walking the show in both places for years. What was your first impression when you stepped on the show floor this year?
Well, I was there a couple days early, just during the buzz of setting everything up. And
Mm.
I would say when I first arrived, what I really just felt was this really positive energy, it just a collaborative energy. And then, of course, the morning the first day of the show, I got in a few minutes early just to touch up the, luxury lounge and everything. And it just the same feeling. I think, everyone, there was just an energy in the air, really lively. Everyone was excited, everyone was excited to be there. And I think everyone is generally always excited to be at KBIS. It's such an amazing show, but I wasn't sure really what to expect because it was in Orlando, and I think the turnout was amazing. I think we can all agree. And it was just a wonderful show. It really was.
Was there anything else that jumped out at you in particular? I mean, I agree. I felt like it was good energy. I felt like people
Yeah.
were there to learn, to see. The vendors turned out, but just curious if you saw anything that was particularly different. Because I know a number of vendors were worried and wondering whether people were going to turn out for this show. So curious what buzz you heard and whether it, was better than expected.
Well, also because it was in Orlando, I was wondering, hey, are the brands going to scale down maybe their booth design and that type of thing a little bit? And what I noticed is it just felt like it exploded again, like it was even better than last year. Like everyone arrived, everyone showed up, all the brands had these, I mean, just incredibly creative booth experiences. And I think experience is a key word
Mm.
I would say in the industry in general, like brands I found are really creating products. They're really understanding that they're not just selling a faucet, they're selling an experience. And so I just felt like every booth really was just, I mean, some of the design of them was so intricate and just amazing. I mean, I got to give a little like plug to Fabuwood, Plain and Fancy. I designed a kitchen for Plain and Fancy, but Carrie Kelly is a creative director for Fabuwood, Plain and Fancy. I didn't even know her complete vision until I got there, right? And was able to experience it. But that's what she created was an experience. And I saw that across the board with everyone, it was amazing.
It's interesting you say that because after you were in the panel in our booth, I actually went over to Fabuwood and I was looking at your vignette and I had also been over to the Kohler booth. And one of the things that struck me, and I don't know if you noticed this or whether you saw it, was I feel like in previous years, Kohler and some of the other brands had tried to create specific Instagram experiences that didn't include the product necessarily. Like they were just these over the top things where I feel like people actually made the vignettes so photogenic and the experience it included the product and it felt like a little bit of a marketing shift to me to make the product the center of attention rather than some other, random showy fun Instagrammable thing.
I agree. I think brands finally understand that today's consumer is they want products that fit their lifestyle and personalization. And so they're offering that personalization by offering many different finishes and tactile experiences, right? And then they're understanding that there's a story to be told, right? And so to me, even faucets, like I look at every
Mhm.
product now from lighting to faucets to whatever, and it tells a story to me. It has mixed finishes, mixed textures and things. And I think they're combining functionality and lifestyle and that experience and telling that story. And they become works of art. Our faucets now are very sculptural at the same time. Like it's just this amazing experience, right? You can personalize it to your finish that you want, but just the handles and the handing and the things
Mhm.
are just make it an experience, which I think is so lovely to see.
I agree. And I agree. I think the vendors did a good job showcasing all those details, even some of just, like you said, a wood-handled faucets or a series of them with a focus on that so people could really understand those details again, rather than something that wasn't about the product itself. And I think that's probably helpful for designers and their clients ultimately.
Yeah. Well, we know then because by them artfully showcasing and telling the story, then now we can feel and experience how our clients are going to feel, how we're going to feel if we put that item in our kitchen or our bath, right? And so we're able to experience it for them in an environment, and they are creating that lifestyle environment in a booth where you
Right.
really feel like you're in a living room or you're in your kitchen. And that's what's so incredible and next level, I think, about where all brands are taking things. I think creativity is just so out there right now and so fun. And as a product designer myself and everything too, I'm not like necessarily, I'm just creating things, right, that come out of my head. And I feel like that's what brands are. They're finally opened the door to true creativity instead of trying to, be like, okay, we have to design a faucet that has to fit every single person. And we need to do these three finishes because that's what the majority of people are going to buy. They've really opened the doors, I think, to creativity, to personalization, to expression, self-expression, which is really nice.
That I think that's such a good point that you make. And certainly on Houzz, when we see the trends, it's not one style, right? People, it's much more personalized. There's many more people are looking for those things that make their home unique and feel special to them. And having that diversity of product and color and materials and opportunities to do that, you really saw that at the different vendor booths. I know you came in early to set up the luxury lounge. Could
Yeah.
you maybe tell people what is the luxury lounge and then, what happens there? What did you do? And did it give you a different perspective on, what was going on in the show as a whole?
Yeah, well, this was the third year of the luxury lounge. The first year I kicked off the very first discussion with Sarah Robertson and Erica Heat. I just remember that first year going, okay, I love this. I love the concept, but it didn't feel super luxury. So I wanted to like kind of elevate it. So I went actually, to KBIS and to Emerald and was like, hey, I would love to design the space and really like what you've created here is so amazing, but I want to elevate it so that when people come in, they feel like they're in luxury and they can really be a part of the conversation. And so the past 2 years, it's been sponsored by Ferguson Home. And Ferguson Home actually launched their new brand last year at KBIS and through the Luxury Lounge. So it's sponsored by them. And then there are other sponsors that come in, and it's different every year. We had like Kitchler this year. We had Iconi. We had Sass Rugs. We had a lot of different really great vendors. But my job as a designer really is to take all of these brands and figure out a way to have them kind of integrate and communicate together in a beautiful way, an artful way. And for me as a designer of the space, I want it to feel luxury and elevated. And I want it to invite people, right? To be able to have conversations in between the great conversations that take place there. It's not like every conversation there is necessarily all about luxury, but it brings, I think, all the most innovative brands, the thought leaders, both designers, architects, to talk about luxury design, everything from wellness to technology to everything. So it's just, to me, it has grown so much and it's been so fun to be a part of it. This year, I really wanted it to feel very earthy and also colorful, because I think that is one of the main things that I'm seeing in the industry is that color and texture is here. Warmer wood tones, deeper, more meaningful color. And so, I wanted to bring in natural like textures and elements. Wallpaper is huge. Brought in this amazing wallpaper with all these great colors. And so I think it created this space that just felt very comfortable. Like I wanted people to feel like they're in their living room. They can chat, like they're chatting with a friend or a family member, because I feel like anytime you're listening to discussion and it feels like you're in your own home and you instantly feel at ease, then you become a part of the conversation. You're really learning more, I think. You're hanging on all the words, and then at the same time, you'll ask questions and you'll be a part of it, because that's what the luxury lounge is about. It's a place to discuss what's going on in our industry and collaborative, to really just have these meaningful conversations. So it's really fun.
Lovely. So for the folks that weren't there or didn't get to see it, can you describe it to us and maybe some of the color and product and material choices you made or layout choices that you made to create this, the environment that was conducive to having those conversations?
Yeah, it's a 40 by 50 foot space. So we used kind of a natural wood tone LVP actually on the flooring. And then we staged it with, curves. We're seeing soft curves and everything, right? I don't know. I'm kind of obsessed with it and everything.
Curves,
You can
yes.
see a little bit here and there. What I love about that is that curves just bring a little bit of softness into any space, right? It's just so beautiful. So I had curved sofas and kind of really neutral tones, some mixes of metal, some black, some brass. Definitely with Kitchler, we did the natural woven, like
Mm.
these really great pendants, really beautiful wallpaper that was very, I would say it had just vibrant, right? It had a vibrancy. Used Sherwin-Williams paint, red brick. I want to say in nervousness. I always say it wrong. A beautiful green, and but I mean, but
Okay.
that like gold tone. So it was greens and rust and gold, and then we had some black accents too. But and then we of course had beautiful Kaz rugs, which was amazing too, to just kind of ground the space. And those were very colorful too, very soft but muted. But I think it just created a really nice open area. I was able to seat, I think, like 85 or something in there. So I was able to seat a lot, had benches lining the exterior, had some kind of olive trees and things like that to bring some greenery into the space. And then,
Love that.
of course,
Yeah.
for lighting too, we had
Mm.
we had some down lights and some LED lighting and things like that. And then I love Iconi. They create a lot of like beautiful panels and things like this that you can use for. I'm using it everywhere, from backs of mud benches to, bookcases to drawer fronts.
Mm.
But we had that on the back wall center section in a walnut. I'm personally obsessed and always have been with wood in all different stain colors and
Mhm.
species, but walnut's always been a favorite of mine. And so we mixed the woods, right? And I think that's what we're seeing in the industry too, which is what I love so much is that everything kind of goes. It's can mix your light and your dark woods. It looks beautiful together. Like you don't have to have everything matchy matchy. We are mixing metals. I mean, even if
Yes.
you look at, Kichler's lighting, they had some beautiful new collections and they had mixed finishes, a black with a brass together. How gorgeous, And so I tried to kind of showcase that too, a mix of metals and just showing that like you can take all of these different tones and you can make them relate artfully in a beautiful way.
That was a terrific description, by the way. So thank you
Oh,
for bringing that to life for all of our listeners. I think that's no, that's wonderful. It always strikes me as interesting, sort of the interplay between the fashion industry and the design industry. And you talk about woven and the mixed metals, and there's so much out there that that I think people are gravitating towards in many aspects of their lives. I think it's
yeah.
a good segue to talk a little bit more about materials, and you mentioned a lot of them there. Do you think there's a difference in, the things that designers are genuinely excited about versus what brands are pushing? Or do you think it's aligned? Like when you see the marketing out there that brands are doing, or like, yep, they got it right. That's what designers are excited about. Or you're like, that's maybe not the line they should have pushed. I'm curious if you think, who's doing a good job and are designers, getting what they need from brands?
Yeah, I think they are. I think brands, I just think they finally have understood that it's not about selling a thing, it's about selling a lifestyle
Mhm.
and the experience. And I think they are now more open to creativity. And that's what I'm seeing that I love so much. They're bringing on, creative directors and influencers. I personally work with a lot of brands designing things, and I think I just love that so much that I feel like it's an open book now. And we can find in the materials, oh my gosh, like it's just incredible. Every brand has something for someone now, right? That fits any type of design style. And even those transitional designs just work so beautifully across the board. But I look, KBIS is like my Super Bowl and it's like a candy store. So it's like, oh my gosh, it can be overload for sure. But I love what I'm seeing. Mix of materials, texture. Every brand is pushing the envelope. Like I think the buzz around their office is we need to innovate, innovate, innovate. And that's what I love so much. And they're bringing it to the table. There's no shortage of finding cool stuff right now.
And for folks who are listening, and we have the YouTube video
Yeah.
version of this, Julie is very animated. So if you're just
Oh,
listening, I just want to tell people that you're very animated. I can hear it in your voice, but I want people to know that you definitely feel strongly that there are amazing innovations happening in the space and that
yeah.
designers have amazing things to work with. You did bring up a point I want to talk about a little bit, which is we have tired feet at the end of those 3 days, like nobody's business, right? I've moved to permanent tennis shoes. I've given up on anything fashionable other than tennis shoes. KBIS can be overwhelming. There's so much to see. When you're walking a show that big, how do you decide where to spend your time? And I'm curious how you documented it. So if you see things you like, are you taking pictures of everything? Do you come back to the office and kind of organize, what you saw and what you want to follow up on? And what kind of guidance would you give to folks who are maybe newer to going to a show this large about managing their time and then making sure that they have the information they need to follow up?
Yeah, well, first thing I'd recommend, put KBIS 2027 on your calendar right now. Um,
We'll both be there.
yeah, so, and I'm designing the luxury lounge again for next year. So,
Amazing.
yeah, but I approach KBIS and pretty much all shows just like I do my business, and I start with a strategy and a plan. And I think that is so important. That's what takes away a little bit of the anxiety and overwhelm if you approach it just like you would if you're building a house or designing a house, right? You really have to take some time prior to the show and really understand what brands are going to be there.
Mhm.
Make your list of, maybe your projects that you have going on or whatever. Maybe, hey, you're interested in working with Monogram or something, and you just want to go see their technology or Gen Air or whatever. Make sure you're mapping that out. I map out every single day, and before I get on that airplane, I have a full schedule.
Amazing.
And
Okay.
and you have to leave time for food and
Yes.
drink, and sit, and you need to bring flip-flops or another pair of shoes because even though you wear tennis shoes, your feet can still get tired. So I put
My recommend, I always say you got to change out your shoes day to day. So like you could wear the same shoes on day one and day three, but you need a different pair on day two just to give your feet a break.
Exactly. But I think that is the key, right? Is, some people are like myself or maybe talking on a couple panels and things like that. You just really have to schedule it out, plan it. And I love that KBIS is not just about finding all and seeing the latest products. It is really about collaboration. It's about networking. It's about connecting and it's about learning and discovery. The, voices of the industry, going and listening to my friends who might be on a panel, right? And I want to hear what they have to say, but the programming is insane.
Yes.
It's so insane. And you do have to pick and choose. So, hey, if you're wanting to even learn more about Houzz software, or you're wanting to learn about AI specifically, like all of that material is there. You can listen to a discussion. If you want to learn more about closet design, go see the closet guy, right? Go see Eric, like from the Closet Institute. It's really all there. And if it is your first time going to the show too, you could go on the designer-led tour, right? Where they're going to take you around, kind of like
Right.
at High Point, like Jeannie Chung does it at High Point. There are the innovation awards, there's, the design awards, all these things. So I think it's important that you really figure out, okay, what do you want to get out of the show this year? What's important for you, for your personal growth, for your networking and connection? And then what do you need to discover, right? What things do you need for your projects and what things are you missing in your library or whatever? And then go and seek out those things and then make sure you're kind of looking to the right and the left at all times so that you can find those hidden gems, right, too. And then for me to catalog things, yeah, you have to have a backup charger. You need your phone. You take photos. I try not to collect like a lot of, business cards and things like that because they just end up in a pile and then they end up in the trash. But taking a photo of, hey, I'm entering the Delta, Brizo booth right now. And then you taking your pictures or your video in there of, hey, I'm in Delta. I love this faucet. Here's how it works, or whatever. That's how I personally catalog all of it. And then I create a folder as soon as I get home and I drop all that information into it so that I have that as a reference. So it's work. It's part of your job though. And a lot of designers don't really, put going to shows like KBIS into, their calendar. And I think it is one of the single most important things that you can do for yourself, for your business, for your growth. The more you know about materials and products, the better designer you are, right? The more you learn. And so I'm always seeking knowledge. I love to learn. Maybe I'm a little bit of a nerdy girl, but I do love to learn.
We love that. And I don't know if you come with a team, but I have heard, and often I'll see people going as groups. It's certainly fun to go with a buddy, but dividing and conquering can also be a helpful strategy, if you've got more than one person from the team to go check out what's happening in some places or to attend a session when you can't be in two places at once, but you want to get the highlights.
Yeah, exactly. This year, my a senior designer was actually in Vietnam at the time, and so I
Wow.
actually came myself this year. But you're right. Normally, I have a couple people with me from my team, and we do divide and conquer a little bit. Also, I think everyone on my team, like, they're also interested, they're at different levels, right, of
Right.
learning. And so, especially I have someone who's newer in the industry. I got her out of UCLA. And so I will kind of suggest, hey, knowing what she needs more knowledge in, hey, why don't you look at this programming over here? Maybe you need to go visit, the Fabuwood booth and have them teach you about cabinetry or whatever. So we're all at different levels, right, in the industry. And so there's different things. I know there's things for me right now. We're using AI in my business, and I'm really trying to learn more about technology. And so I tend to gravitate towards things like that and asking questions or sitting in on conversations where I can learn, oh, what are other designers? Like, what have they discovered? What are they using that works and that kind of thing? And then anything health and wellness too. I've really gone into really focusing on building healthy homes. And so anywhere where I can learn more about that, what's going on in the
Mm.
industry, what products, zero VOC products, things like that. Like I want to know, I want to be involved in the conversation.
All wonderful points. And I was going to ask you specifically about health and wellness, especially for a kitchen and bath show. There's, so much going on with cold plunge or mirrors that can check your heart rate and diagnose whether there are issues going on. Was there any, and it doesn't have to be in the health and wellness area, but was there something that you saw where you said, oh, people are going to love this. Like, this is something I could see putting in multiple projects. And maybe it's just because it was beautiful. Maybe it's because it was like, oh, this is the kind of thing people have been asking for from a health and wellness standpoint. But was there something where you're like, oh yes, this is going to end up in multiple projects for me in the coming years?
Well, first of all, I love all the plumbing brands, but I do use Kohler quite a bit in just because I love like their Anthem, I love their digital valves, but the Anthem Evo Cycle recirculating shower was amazing to me
Hmm.
because it is recycling your water as you're taking a shower. It's recycling it, and it saves up to like I think 80% of your water.
Wow.
To me, a water conservation is a big deal, right? And so I thought that was pretty cool. Like I was like, oh, wait a minute. They've solved a real kind of issue here. And so, yeah, I really thought that was cool. The other thing that I thought was cool is the AI that's incorporated into like monograms like oven and GE Cafe,
Hmm.
like their oven, like it can sense and know what you're cooking. Like that's crazy to me. I'm like, really? First of all, you don't want me cooking anything. I'm not gonna lie. My date is normally with DoorDash. It's called DoorDash. But I do love appliances and love to, put beautiful appliances that are functional for all these beautiful families I build luxury homes for. But I thought that was just like incredible. Like that's where we're going. Like you're going to put a turkey in, it's going to know it's a turkey, and you're going to walk away and you're going to show up in an hour and your turkey is perfectly basted. Like it's like, I mean, that's just incredible technology if you think about that. Like the camera and the sensory part of appliances and even plumbing with our faucets, auto faucets.
What you're suggesting is actually the definition of smart home is really going to change and expand because, right, it's all been about, okay, we're going to automate our blinds and right there are our locks and the heat, but obviously the scope of what AI and automation can help with in the home, from cooking to recycling your water, your shower water, your kitchen water. I mean, this could, right, it could go much, much further into the things that are really impacting the planet and that people care
Oh,
deeply
yeah.
about.
Yeah, I mean, air, water, and light, those are the three qualities that make up a healthy environment. Those are the things you need to be concerned about. And, I work with Lutron Ketra. I mean, I think me personally, I mean, they're the leaders in the industry when it comes to
Yep.
spectrum lighting. It matters. Lighting matters. It creates health and wellness in our environment. And the combination of like full spectrum lighting with natural lighting, which is so important for our health, like, that circadian rhythm. Like it's sleep is important. And waking and living and sleeping and resting. And that's, I mean, we know so much now, and we're learning at such a fast pace on longevity. Everyone's studying the blue zones and all of that. So yeah, it's kind of just cool where it's all going, where it's all headed. I will tell you, in the last 3 years, I have not built a home that did not have a spa, that did not have more than one steam shower, a sauna, the pool, even cold plunge. Let's see, I've done cold plunges. I have a healthy home that I'm building right now in Alabama, and we've even got a tub that's infused with like oxygen, right? An
Mm.
oxygenated tub. So it's pretty cool. I think that, and now everyone, is creating even saunas that they're affordable. You don't have to
Right.
spend
And
thousands of
small.
dollars.
Right.
Like
They have saunas that can fit in smaller spaces,
one person,
right?
two
And
people. Yeah. And there's just so many health benefits to it. I'm lucky to have one in the building where I live. And so I, go in there at least 4 or 5 days a week and just pop in there for 15, 20 minutes. It's really nice too, because you can relax and kind of zen out a little in there. But this is not a trend. It is the new lifestyle. We finally get it. People finally understand we need to be doing these things and we need to be thinking about these things. This is how we can live longer, happier, healthier lives.
so important. It's interesting you mentioned trends because I agree with you, right? This is a shift in just how people are going to live and in how designers are going to support that shift. We talked about how much diversity of styles and customization and personalization are out there now. Does such a thing as a trend exist? And, is there anything that you would say kind of maybe still falls in a this was a one-hit wonder or a two-year wonder and it's going to be trendy and move on, or can everything get recycled and live fresh again?
Yeah. So I think fashion, and well, I started my career in fashion design. I was a fashion designer first.
Oh wow.
They completely relate, right? Fashion and interior design, everything, the materials and the technology and stuff really, for me, really kind of start in Europe. And what you see in Europe in about 18 months, you can expect it to start showing up here. But I think throughout time, if you look back through history of fashion and interiors, because they're directly connected, they do kind of change, readapt, and come back around, just slightly different. So I think that's just the cycle of things in life, that it is always reinventing. What we're seeing here now today, the return to, richer, color and darker wood tones and whatever. I mean, I remember that in the 90s.
Yes.
So travertine's back, right? It was like, remember, everyone had travertine and Emperador Dark and Ubatuba green, whatever. Well, now it's back. It's just different. And I think it gets better, right? Each time it circles back around. So what we see now today and what we're doing now today, in another 10 years, it's going to be something slightly different. I don't know. Maybe the white kitchen will come back. I hope not, because I'm just going to let you know. I don't totally love and never have an all white kitchen. I'm like,
Same.
white, that's not design. I mean,
People
it's
still love
not.
it. People still ask
I,
for it, right? Like
they do.
there's still a demand for it. But yes, I agree with you. It's not, yeah.
Yeah.
The mix, I mean, there's so many options to mix things, right? You can have some white,
Yeah.
but there's so much you can work with in materials and textures and colors that without it being overwhelming, right? It doesn't mean you have to have a brightly colored rainbow kitchen, but there is a lot more subtlety
Yeah.
available.
I,
But I
I think
agree with you. Yeah,
beige is a new white, which I love. I mean, just any kind of little bit of color, right? But yeah, I mean, I think, it will continue to kind of, change. I always advise my clients, for instance, to just don't worry about what your neighbor, your mother, your best friend, anyone else is doing or anyone else says. I mean, it's this is our life. You really need to love your home, love your environment, surround yourself with color and meaningful things that mean something to you, that represent and reflect your unique personality, and you're telling your story in your home. And that's the way it should be. So as a designer, I'm not really, I don't know, I don't pay attention to necessarily trends, because what you might call a trend or I might call a trend, someone else is going to call it something different, right? So it's like, okay, who's really in charge of trends here? No one. I think as designers, we just set our own, that's where our creativity comes out. Like every project is different. None of my projects are the same. They're not even close, because the environment outside the door is different. First of all, like, I might be building a house in Boston, or I might be doing something in Alabama, or it might be in Florida, or here in Southern California. Every environment is different. The home needs to fit kind of the environment, right? The exterior elevation and all of that, and the landscape and everything. That then dictates also a little bit the style of the house and the materials that are used. Well, those materials move from the outside in as well. You want them to kind of, speak to each other. And so that means that it's always different. Everything I design is always different. And I would challenge other designers to do that too, to just not focus on what anyone else is doing, just really, pay attention to your client, your own personal ideas, let your creativity shine, and really think outside the box. Right now, the world is our oyster. I mean, there's so many beautiful products. I think about even tile materials. Oh my
Right.
goodness. Like I want to put tile everywhere, on the ceiling, on the wall, on the floor, on the backsplash. I mean, it's just so textural and interesting. And the way you can mix materials now, and the large format, has just gotten better and bigger. And it's an incredible time, I think, in design to unleash your creativity.
Amazing. Before we wrap up, and I love what you're saying, and I want to kind of dig in on the client side a little bit. Logically, we know people are remodeling for themselves for the long term, right? They want to be in their homes. They're not remodeling for and redesigning for resale value. It's not a consideration, right? They're investing in wellness and all of these things because that they want to enjoy their home. So,
Yeah.
what advice would you give designers who would like to push their clients a little bit more on the experimentation front, but who might be getting pushback? Do you put interesting things in front of them, in person where they might, to get them excited? What are some of the techniques you use for clients that maybe are a little bit more reticent to get them to embrace some of those, more creative ideas?
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing is to be confident. Understand that your client picked you for a reason, because they admire you and your work, and they want you to show up for them, right? They're looking to you for that advice. So that would be step one. Just be really confident, right, in your direction and your ideas. I think what's so great now is the technology allows us to give them a visual through 3D. So every single one of my projects, I model out all the spaces, right? And the other thing is really limit the choices. Like follow your own intuition. Like you're right. What the direction that you're thinking you want to go, or the color palette, or these types of things, after getting to really know your client, chances are, I mean, we have built-in intuition, kind of, we have this natural as designers. So just trust that. Don't give them too many choices. You be the designer and you need to lead the ship here. When I'm picking out a light fixture, for instance, well, maybe lighting's not a good one to use because I love lighting so much. I like got like 10, chandeliers for the dining room, and then I have to scale it down. But, I try not to give them more than maybe like two choices, three tops at the most. But that overwhelms people, right? So your job as a designer is to be really clear on what you're communicating, what the vision is. And you do that by you doing the design, and then communicating that visually through 3D, and even 2D elevation so they can understand like the wall sections in certain instances, like kitchens, for instance, cabinetry. But, most people, if they can see it and it looks like they're looking shopping in a magazine, well, then now they get your vision. And so that is very, very important. And if you don't, for designers that don't incorporate that into their business, you need to start penciling that into your fee because it's going to get you across the finish line every time. And it's going to help you to scale your business too, for sure. Design is all about effectively communicating, and that's even with your team, your contractors or subcontractors. This helps them too. When they can look at the visual and then they have your measurements on your 2D, and then they know they've got the material selections. Here's the light, here's the mirror, here's the vanity, here's the countertop. When they can see all that together, it eliminates mistakes and errors, right? Because you've now effectively communicated your vision and your design. It just helps everyone all the way around. So that would be my biggest advice, that it just needs to be part of your business.
Great. Couldn't agree more. The visualization and narrowing those options so that you're happy with the options you give, but they don't get into a decision paralysis is just incredibly important.
Yeah. I mean, I do not take my clients into a tile store. I do not.
Trouble.
Like, most tile stores have so much material that it's just absolutely overwhelming. That causes anxiety. They're not, for us, it's easy because, oh my God, we want to look at everything and this is like fun for us. It is not fun most of the time for clients. They just walk in and go, what is this? What is that? Oh, I think I like that. Well, maybe that. Well, what about this color? It just, oh my gosh, it prolongs the process, right? It's like, that's how it's going to throw a wrench in getting something across the finish line. Oh, I want to see this. And can you model it like that? And whatever. Like, no. I do my job. I'm like, here's what I picked for you. Isn't it gorgeous? Because it is. It's going to be gorgeous. And by the way, here's a 3D rendering. So now you know exactly how it looks, And most of the time, I get it right. There's still those times where they go, oh, no, I don't really like that shade of green. Oh, I'd rather have white oak or whatever, or a medium brown tone. I'd like this, or great, no problem. The design itself doesn't necessarily have to change. Maybe it's just the palette slightly, but those are easy things to change when you've done all the heavy lifting already.
Absolutely. Well, Julie, this has been an incredible walk through KBIS, plus terrific advice on being able to, move clients in the direction to take advantage of all those incredible, products and materials that are out there. It really is a candy store and such an incredible opportunity to make their homes not just beautiful, but impact how they're really living their lives, as you said, with light, air, water, and more. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you'll come back again soon and that we get to see each other soon as well.
Thank you. I would absolutely love it. And everyone, mark your calendars. KBIS 2027.
We will both see you there. Thanks so much, Julie. Great speaking with you. Okay, take care.
This series is brought to you by Houzz Pro. To learn more about our best-in-class software for winning clients, managing projects, and simplifying your workflow, visit houzz.com/pro.